Warning: the video you are about to watch is not a usual of my channel. It is a serious subject. It's not for kids. If YouTube says this video is for kids or turns off comments, then YouTube is lying to you. This video is serious topic, not for kids. You have been warned. Big warning ahead. If you are sensitive to this kind of information or subjects of this nature, click away now. I will not be held responsible if you continue. Now then, back to our regularly scheduled program. Hello YouTube, Joseph Crickmore here, and for anyone that knows me, I love history. You know, the study of the past, the wonders of the world that came before us, how our world has been shaped by the natural course of time and the passage of events that transpired in history. But then that leads us to the present day, leads us to a problem. And that problem comes in the form of statues. In recent years, certain historical artifacts have been taken down due to them being associated with not so good things. Some even claim that certain statues in America are racist, and that this problem is getting out of control. People think it's all right to just vandalize or tear down statues at their own leisure without the consent of any formal government. Now, of course, this problem has been a problem throughout history, of course, but it was only rekindled in the modern era due to the unfortunate death of George Floyd. May he rest in peace. He was killed by police officers while in custody, and the whole situation blew up because, on the surface, this is just an abuse of power by the police over a man who may have not even been the suspect they were looking for. But they used excessive force, they were choking him, and then of course, they killed him. And they prohibited any public media from seeing, but of course, human beings are human beings. If they see something, they're gonna say something. And the media was on it almost immediately. And this social media response reignited the Black Lives Matter movement and many other movements around the country to take down statues that represent ugly segregation in our history, ugly marks of terrible things this country has had in the last 4 or 5 centuries. Now, as you see, they were taken down, vandalized, defaced, like ruined. And as you can see, this is getting out of control. It's fine if it's like peacefully and they're doing it for a just cause. Not so much if it's getting out of control. And the people who claim to have done the violence, the vandalism and everything, they claim that they were motivated by their concerns about the racism in the US. Now that's a nice sentiment and all, but you're still vandalizing stuff. That's still going a little excessive in mentioning how this problem has gotten out of control. Now, there has been some opinion on just removing all statues entirely, to the point where someone even claimed that they were poor works of public art and poor efforts of memorialization, and that statues are the wrong way to do it. Now you may be thinking, this sounds like just an American problem, and that this doesn't touch anywhere on the world. You'd be wrong! This problem touches the world. There are many countries that are doing the same thing, but differently. And I'll get to that right now. Other countries are dealing with worse issues than Confederate or Columbus statues. Now, the Columbus statues, they represent the ugly mark of slavery and the unjust persecution and torture of indigenous people that lived here before the settlers came. The Confederate statues is still an ugly mark of slavery, but also a mark of oppression for the black community. That's why these statues are targeted. But other countries are dealing with problems with their statues. China is a good example of this. Chiang Kai-shek, forgive my pronunciation if that's wrong, was the president of China until he fled to Taiwan after losing to the Communist Party in 1949. All over Taiwan, they erected statues to him to show their allegiance to him until Taiwan wanted their own democracy and wanted to remove the statues. What they did is the difference. What they did differently from the U.S. was they chose to move the statues to a park designated to only these statues near Chiang's mausoleum in Taiwan. They made it into a park. They put plaques next to all of them. They explained the history. They're in a designated place. So if anyone does anything to those statues now, it's an offense because it's now a historical site dedicated to education. Another country, and this may be diving into some very deep political stuff, especially the country I'm about to talk about, especially given our current modern events, so please don't get up in arms about this. Russia dealt with this issue in the past, 2 years ago. So just because I said that, don't think that, oh, he's talking about current events. He shouldn't be doing that. No, I'm talking about Russia in 2020, when they have their own statue problem. They had plenty of communist statues, especially of the Soviet Union's founder, Vladimir Lenin. And they wanted to do something about it. However, when the Soviet Union fell apart, people no longer cared about symbols and what they represented. They cared about their daily necessities of living. Because the Soviet Union fell apart, people were scattered across Russia. They were in crisis. They had no time to worry about statues over minuscule problems. Once they finally got reorganized and got the country back together again, they moved the Lenin statues to a monument park in Moscow. And they didn't gather all of them. Gathering every statue of someone in a country is a very difficult thing to do when you're the size of Russia. So a few are still scattered all over Russia, but a majority of them ended up in a monument park in Moscow. Now, what can the U.S. learn? What can the country of America learn from these other countries? For number one, is to not be violent about wanting them gone. Nor do we really want them gone forever. Because this cycle is inevitably going to continue. Whether we like it or not, statues are going to be put up again, and then taken down again for different reasons. It's going to be a rinse and repeat throughout history, until we do something different. In fact, there was a situation where people wanted a statue taken down, but they couldn't do anything about it. You want to know why? The statue was owned by private property. It was on private land. It was not something a city's local government could do. By the way, it was a Lenin statue in America. No one could do anything about it. No one could touch it. Want to know why? It was on private property. Someone privately owned the land, not the statue. So it was none of the government's business. Now don't worry. This isn't all doom and gloom, and getting rid of statues is both a good thing and a bad thing. There's other ways of remembering the past. We have memorials that everyone can agree matter about our history. A good example of a memorial that still stands to represent history. Decommissioned naval vessels, aircraft carriers, battleships, everything of the like. Some of them have been converted into floating museums. Places of entertainment, if you will. The Intrepid, the New Jersey, are just two of many examples of warships that have been converted into places of entertainment, recreation, education, and marks of history. Floating museums, if you will. Other memorials our country has that remembers the past. We have a memorial for Pearl Harbor. We have one for the unfortunate tragedy of 9/11. We have a Lincoln Memorial. And might I say, no one's tried to vandalize yet or ever. The only things that have been vandalized that are president related are statues, as you see on your screen right now. There's a difference between this and this. And the United States also has another big symbol that represents our country. And it may just as well be as wrong and cruel and racist as the statues. Mount Rushmore. People have their opinions of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Ulysses S. Grant. Here's the thing, though. You can't change Mount Rushmore. You can't physically change what Mount Rushmore represents. George Washington was our commander-in-chief of the Revolutionary War. He led us to our independence from Britain. Abraham Lincoln led us through the Civil War and got our country back united as one. Jefferson helped write the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And Grant was a very good Civil War general in helping the North maintain the Union and helping to get rid of slavery in the Confederacy. Those four people may have done some cruel things in their day, but that was society back then. People are apparently dumb to the idea that a 17th century person doing things socially acceptable then is not acceptable anymore. Well, of course not. Times change. But they assume that because they did it then, we can't honor them now for their good deeds. People, am I right? I end this video with a message. I'm going to end this video talking about what I think we should do moving forward. I gave a survey to a select few people. I didn't get many responses. It's a little bit of a hit or miss there. But I am willing to leave this video with a message. Someone had a very good idea for how to honor the history of lost lives and how to do it in a way that would be very beneficial to the country. And I thank the person who gave me this idea. The idea is to make a plaque explaining history with a tree. Think about it. You put it on a plaque explaining something. You put it on a tree. You make it into like a walkway. You make it into a tourist attraction. You make it into something where people would want to go to there and see why or see how or learn the truth if they assumed incorrectly. A tree represents life of our planet. Without trees, we don't have oxygen. We wouldn't be able to survive if it weren't for plants. So putting a plaque that represents history on something that should theoretically exist until the end of time, or until our planet loses the sun and our solar system crumbles in a couple trillion quadrillion years, way, way, way past our lifetimes. But for the near future, our planet has trees. At least I hope our planet still has trees. Putting a plaque of history on something that would remain eternal is a very nice way of symbolism. A plaque of history of the past and a tree representing the future of our planet. And no, I did not just get that idea because it was Earth Day recently. I'll leave you with this. We can strive for better and go about this a different way by showing history as it happened, not using statues, but by other means, like a walkway with plaques, memorials, or even just the acknowledgement that these people existed. The indigenous population of our country, the slaves that unfortunately did not see the emancipation of their brethren, and they deserve to be remembered for generations to come. Thank you. Now cue the outro. And remember, like at the end of the video, I'll say it again, but I'll do it right now. To hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share the video with your friends, and I will see you all in my future. All in over my future. If you want to enjoy my content,